Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Caverns of Time is here. Straight to Wild expansion includes a bunch of new cards and a bunch of old buffed cards, which were also buffed in their old expansion wherever they originally came from. And Reddit is ablaze. There are so many posts. Do not open Caverns of Time packs. Caverns of Time packs are bugged. Duplicate protection does not work. Are Caverns of Time packs bugged? Should you buy them? Well, those are actually two separate questions. First, Caverns of Time packs are not bugged. Everything works exactly as it's meant to work. Whether how it's meant to work is how you want it to work. Now, that is another question. So in this video, let's take a look at how it works and what limitations there are. So, duplicate protection works for Caverns of Time cards and Caverns of Time packs. But what does duplicate protection mean? First of all, duplicate protection works per rarity. So first, when you get playable copies of all the commons, then you start to get duplicate commons, while you can still get only new cards from rares. And once you have all the rares, well, you start getting duplicate rares, and you can still only get new epics and legendaries and so on. And one thing that has bothered a lot of people is that all Caverns cards are equal, new and reprint alike. So people have been like, hey, I got a Hobart Grapplehammer. Well, yes, you did. If you have never owned Hobart Grapplehammer before, it's a new legendary to you, so duplicate protection. No Hobart, here's a Hobart for you. You don't necessarily get one of the brand new cards. You can also get some of the reprints if you have not owned those reprints before. And there's an important caveat, because duplicate protection was added to Hearthstone in 2020, so only cards that you owned in 2020 or later have been tracked. So if you owned Hobart Grapplehammer and you disenchanted the card before 2020, then the game thinks that you never owned it in the first place, so then you can get it despite the duplicate protection. And another thing to consider with duplicate protection is that game sees all copies from all expansions as the same for these purposes. So if you have, for example, one common card from Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, and you get the second copy from Caverns of Time, then now that common falls under duplicate protection. You have a playset, you have one copy from Mean Streets, you have one copy from Caverns, you have overall 2 copies, you won't get another copy of that common. You won't get it from Mean Streets packs, you won't get it from Caverns packs, until you have opened all other commons, at least a playset of those, and even then it's just completely random. So if you own individual copies of some of the cards from the old sets, you can come into a situation where you have one copy from there, one copy from Caverns, and now Caverns duplicate protection considers that your playset is complete. Can be a little awkward when building decks, but it still works. So what does this mean overall? Duplicate protection does work exactly as it's supposed to work. It will give you new copies of cards that you have not owned since 2020 until you have all such cards of that rarity, and only then will you start getting duplicates. Okay, so that's fine, that works. But in addition to the 2020 limit, there are a couple of other issues that people are running into when they open Caverns of Time packs. One is that your collection manager does not always show you all the cards. If you have the same card from multiple sets, collection manager, if you set it for wild cards for example, or twist cards, might only show you cards from one of the sets. And then you have to use specific expansion filters to see the remaining copies that you have. So it's sometimes a little bit difficult to figure out like, how many Acolytes of Pain did I have exactly, and from which sets? And also, the Caverns copies do not go into the disenchant extra cards feature. Like you have 2 Acolytes of Pain from Core Set, you have 2 Acolytes of Pain from Legacy, you have 2 Acolytes of Pain from Caverns of Time, and disenchant extra cards doesn't think you have any extra cards, like it's totally fine. This is so that collectors don't accidentally disenchant some of their collection, which means that if you want to disenchant some of the Caverns cards that you already own from the previous expansions, you have to do so manually. So that's of course a lot of checking, okay, did I actually own all the copies of this card? Like, what cards should I be disenchanting? But still, all the cards are there. None of the cards go missing. Whenever you open Caverns packs, you get the cards into your collection. It's just, in the collection manager, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to tell where they are exactly and whether you have extra copies. And finally, one more thing about golden copies of cards. Duplicate protection does not protect your golden cards in the same way. Golden cards ignore goldens from other sets after you're past duplicate protection. So let's say I have now all copies of all the commons. I would really want to get a golden Worgen Greaser. I don't own a golden Worgen Greaser, but instead I get a golden copy of some card that I already own 2 copies of from its original set. And yes, that can happen. That is not part of what duplicate protection in Hearthstone does, because duplicate protection in Hearthstone is there to ensure that you have playsets, you have playable copies of as many different cards as possible, and it's not really planned to help collectors collect golden copies as effectively as possible. So yeah, there's a couple of these caveats out there, but overall the rumors of Caverns of Time packs being bugged are highly exaggerated, because duplicate protection works exactly the way it's meant to work, and it will give you as many playable copies of new cards as possible. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.